Fair use. Daily Reflections. This is a book of reflections by AA members for AA members. September 7th. Our side of the street. We are there to sweep off our side of the street, realizing that nothing worthwhile can be accomplished until we do so. Never trying to tell him what he should do. His faults are not discussed. We stick to our own. I made amends to my dad soon after I quit drinking. My words fell on deaf ears since I had blamed him for my troubles. Several months later, I made amends to my dad again. This time I wrote a letter in which I did not blame him, nor mention his faults. It worked, and at last I understood. My side of the street is all that I am responsible for, and thanks to God and AA, it's clean for today. Courage to Change One Day at a Time in Al-Anon, September 7th. I never thought much about Tradition 7, which says that every group ought to be fully self-supporting. I thought it referred only to paying the rent, but recently I was involved with a group that maintained itself financially and still was not fully self-supporting because no one could commit to service. I already held several positions, and when my various terms expired, no one was willing to take my place. I made what felt like the responsible choice for myself and stepped down anyway. The meeting closed. In my opinion, a group that cannot fill its service positions is not fully self-supporting. Today, in other more flourishing groups, I have a greater appreciation of my responsibility to do this tradition. I believe that as we nurture our groups, we nurture and empower ourselves. We can make a contribution. We can make choices that help us to allow healing in others and ourselves. Today's reminder. There's more to maintaining a fully self-supporting Al-Anon group than just paying the rent. Continuity of service is important to our common welfare. Today I will think about the contribution I am making to my home group. There is a quote from Alantine, A Day at a Time, and it reads, I can support my group in a number of ways. When the basket is passed, I can give what I can. Just as important, I can give my time and moral support to help make ours the kind of group I want to belong to. Just for today, daily meditations for recovering addicts. September 7th, resentment and forgiveness. Where there has been wrong, the problem teaches us the spirit of forgiveness. Basic text, page 12. In NA, we begin to interact with the world around us. We no longer live in isolation, but freedom from isolation has its price. The more we interact with people, the more often we'll find someone stepping on our toes. And such are the circumstances in which resentments are often born. Resentments, justified or not, are dangerous to our ongoing recovery. The longer we harbor resentments, the more bitter they become, eventually poisoning us. To stay clean, we must find the capacity to let go of our resentments, the capacity to forgive. We first develop this capacity in working steps 8 and 9, and we keep it alive by regularly taking the 10th step. Sometimes when we are unwilling to forgive, it helps to remember that we too may someday require another person's forgiveness. Haven't we all at one time or another done something that we deeply regretted? And aren't we healed in some measure when others accept our sincere amends? An attitude of forgiveness is a little easier to develop when we remember that we are all doing the very best we can, and someday we too will need forgiveness. Just for today, I will let go of my resentments. Today, if I am wronged, I will practice forgiveness, knowing that I need forgiveness myself. Today, Emotions Anonymous, September 7th. Reflection for today. Often I want to break away from all of my responsibilities. These are some of my choices. I can become hot with frustration and anger, attacking those I love, crushing them, and I will feel remorse. Or I can sigh, crushing myself with the weight of inadequacy or resignation or the futility of it all, and I will waste time and feel guilty. Or I can stop now, stand aside for a moment, and look and listen. I will see I am heaping abuse upon myself, inflicting it because, once again, I have not done enough. Or I will feel fear that I might be like that person who is bugging me so much. So I must look at myself with kindness and tell myself to keep it simple. Then I can pick myself up and begin again, taking another step, an even surer one, toward knowing who I am. Meditation for today. Oh God, help me to know I have a choice. Today I will remember. I will go easier on myself and look at myself with kindness. Strengthening my recovery. Meditations for adult children of alcoholics, dysfunctional families. September 7th. Celebrate success. Our group members celebrate our growth and recovery with us. BRB, page 404. Our critical inner parent can whisper to us all day long, repeating the messages we heard as children from our parents, teachers, and other authority figures from our formative years. Sometimes we may not even hear the messages as thoughts. Instead, we just feel bad about ourselves, off and on all day. But in recovery, as we become aware of the influence this critical voice has over us, and by acknowledging the harm it is causing, we start to replace the negative messages with positive ones. We affirm ourselves for our willingness to change. Since the ACA program requires courage, stamina, and perseverance, it can be very rejuvenating to celebrate our successes and reward ourselves for the progress we made. Sometimes, after a rough day, simply making it to a meeting deserves a hug of congratulations. Or after working through a step 4 exercise, our reward might be calling a fellow traveler to receive affirmation as we talk about what we learned about ourselves. The affirmation reads, "On this day, I will acknowledge the recovery actions I take by celebrating my progress with my fellow travelers who support and value me." Please share, subscribe, like. Most of all, be the you that you are created to be. To remember that you are not alone and that recovery is possible one day at a time.